Kapow! Hello and welcome to Stanchion Snacks, a bit of a mouthful, the cooking show where I create a dish in honour of a past player of Southampton and our weekly opponents. This week our opponents are Preston North End, and I have chosen to represent past player of both clubs, Richard Chaplow. So Chappers is from, did we ever call him Chappers? I don't know. Is from Accrington, and I've never actually been to Preston, although we're at home this week, but I've never been to Preston, but I have actually been to Accrington Stanley.
Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly.
I went to watch Shrewsbury Town play there once, and I remember that I actually had a butter pie. Now, a butter pie is also famous with Preston North End, and it just makes perfect sense that that's what we make today. So a butter pie, also known as a Friday pie or a Catholic pie, is basically a potato and onion pie with a lot of butter in it. Now, usually you would always start with the pie crust, but for this recipe, it's very important that we start with the filling. So first things first, slice very finely 2 onions. We're going to start by peeling the potatoes. These are Maris Pipers. And then we're going to chop them, first of all, in half. So we're going to do some half moons. And we don't want them too thin, but sort of maybe this size. Just cut a bit like we're going to make a sort of... This is almost a bit like a sort of a Dauphinoise or a Pomme hybrid, or a boulangère, a bit like that sort of, but in a pie. It's a great thing. So I've cut them about that thick, all right? And we're going to just bring these up to the boil, so in cold water, and we're going to bring these up to the boil just for like maybe 5 minutes, just to start cooking them. So plenty of fresh water. This isn't the water that we peeled in. I've just drained that off, added some fresh, and then a nice pinch of salt. I only use Maldon's. And a good tip when you're seasoning your potato water, taste it. Does it taste a little bit salty? Yes, that's great. We know that we're going to have nice flavour in our potatoes. If it still doesn't taste of anything, add some more. So a little bit of oil, but mainly butter. Plenty of butter in there. That's probably about 75 grams. And I got my potatoes on the back here, just on a relatively sort of low heat. I'm going to make sure I keep stirring those, because otherwise the ones at the bottom are going to get a mush and the ones at the top aren't going to cook. And I've already got my colander out ready. Here it is. I'm going to stick that in the sink so that as soon as they're cooked, because they will go quickly, it will happen, I can drain them straight off, because we don't want to run these under cold water. We'll sort of wash off any of the flavour, so we want them just to be cooked, and we're going to drain them and we're just going to let them cool down naturally. So look, we're just starting to get a little bit of bubbly here, and then we're going to add all of our onions. And we want to give these a good sort of mix around. Let's start to coat them all in the butter. We're going to cook these nice and slowly. Only a forward Russian onion. So now a good pinch of salt. And we're going to make a cartouche. It's basically like a nice sort of paper lid that allows us to sort of steam and cook things slowly. So look, here's the middle of the sheet of paper. I've folded it into 4. I've remembered where the middle is. And then we're going to form that into a triangle. If you did it to there, this would go wrong. And then you want to fold that another couple of times. And you measure into the middle like this, and then you rip off from where that was. If you were going for a Michelin star, you would cut it and you'd have a perfect circle. But we don't mind the odd little rough edge on this show. Cartouche on the top. And for now, that's it. Okay, so I've swapped these round so the potatoes are on a slightly higher heat, but importantly, I haven't stopped stirring them. And we can see they're just beginning. There's a bit of a snap there. They won't mash. There's still a bit of texture. They break, but they would still hold together. So they're perfect. So now I'm going to pull these off and drain them in that colander there, just to go super, super cold. We could lay them completely flat on a tray, actually. That might be better. They are really perfect when they're like that. So for the pastry, 250 grams of flour, pinch of salt, Maldon's of course, and 125 grams of butter. And we're going to rub that in until it gets nice and sandy. It will take a little bit of time. You just got to sort of rub it between your hands. And you need cold hands. You need the butter to be cold. It is tempting as soon as the weather sort of turns cold. You think, let's make a pie. You put the heating on and then your pastry doesn't work and you wonder why. But any pastry room needs to be nice and cool, really. So when it's like this, nice sandy, and look, you can sort of squeeze it together into like big chunks and it should come apart again. That's when you kind of know you've got a good, nice, fine, sandy sort of consistency. And then into that we're going to add 1 whole egg. Should I have beaten this first? Maybe. Let's give that a little beat. And we're also going to add an eggshell full of water. So that's the egg and the eggshell full of water. And then I'm keeping my hand kind of in the middle of the bowl here and just sort of letting it all come together. And as soon as it's all kind of incorporated, that's it. This already feels lovely and nice and soft, but not sticky. This recipe just works. It just works, guys. I know now I have been making pastry for a long time, and I know a lot of people say they just can't make it. It doesn't work for them, but for whatever reason, this always works for me. But now we're going to give this a real nice rest for a good hour in the fridge. So come have a look at these onions. So these have been cooking away now for about 45 minutes. Okay, so when I said long and slow, I meant it. And look at them, and you can see the butter has kind of gone in, and now it's just almost starting to run back out again. That's good, and they are so soft and tender. Look at that, so almost like sort of melted onions. Let them cool, but they don't need to go super, super cold. They don't need to be as cold as the potatoes. So this pastry makes 4, so the first thing I did was split it into 4, and then each one I'm just cutting a third off. That third's going to be the lid, and then this is the bottom or the base, and I'll just roll that out, trying to keep it as sort of round as possible. I'll turn it every now and then. Now when it's about the size of a £1 coin, I'll pop it into my mould. My mould is buttered, and then I chilled it back down, and then I've just used the lid just to push the corners in there. So a little tip, and then let's start building. So onions first, and we're just going to layer these up. So onions, and then potatoes, and then after the potatoes another layer of onions, another layer of potatoes. I think I got 3 of each in this pie, and then I put a few little knobs of butter, only a little bit there. Then roll out the lid the same size, whop him on, stick them together. You do just need to put a little bit of water on each side, and then I decided to make one with cheese, so I did exactly the same, but I just put cheese with each layer of onion, and then I cut the edges off with a sharp knife, and then I just crimped it here. A couple of little holes in the top there just to let any steam out, and then just a little bit of egg wash, and they are ready to go in the oven, 180 degrees for about half an hour. So whilst the pies are in the oven, there's only really one thing we've got left to do, and we're going to make some peas. Now in sort of Wigan, they've got a thing called pea wet. We're not really going to make that, we're just going to make some mushy peas. So the first thing we need is some peas, just some garden peas, a decent amount in a pan there, and we're going to add some boiling water and a little bit of salt there. I only use Maldon's. And once they've had a little boil, just sort of scoop them out straight into a jug, and we'll just add a splash of the cooking water, and then just give them a good old razz up with the hand blender. A few knobs of butter just to sort of bring it all together, and that's it. Mushy peas, or pea wet. The pies are out. I'm going to attempt to turn them out in a minute. We've got our wet peas. I'm not claiming this to be pea wet. Wet peas over there. And we're going to stick these in a bread roll, or up north they would call them a barm. Now these definitely aren't barms. Barms are traditionally a byproduct of beer. So rather than using yeast, you would use the scum that rises to the top as beer ferments. I was thinking about making barms for this channel, but you know me, I've made my own pastry, guys. Cut me some slack. But anyway, yes, a bread roll or a bap. I would always go with a bap. The first time I ever heard the word barm was actually when I was working in a little sandwich shop next to the Gay Meadow, Shrewsbury Town's old ground, and Ryan Lowe came in. It was always quite interesting because at about 2 o'clock you would get a handful of players that would come into this sandwich shop, and they would have something to eat. So you would know that they hadn't made the squad. And Ryan Lowe came in, who's a Scouser, and I was like, what bread do you want? And he said a barm cake. And sort of, I was probably only like 15 or 16. I was young. I'd never heard the term barm cake before. And I was like, what, do you mean a bap? And he went, yeah, a barm cake. And I was like, whatever. So I guess this is a bap, cob, we might say in the Midlands. But I've got a raring hot pan just here. And I'm going to do my traditional sort of seal off. Whilst that's happening, let's turn out our pies. So this one is the cheesy one. This one, not so cheesy one. Now this one is a little bit stuck, so I have just freed him up a little bit. So he might be the ugly duckling of the two. But, oh, hello. Well, if he comes out like that, I'll be happy. That one's straight out. Look at that, come on. Oh. Okay, great. So this is our little cheesy one. Look at that, absolutely sensational. I'm very happy with that. And this is our not so cheesy one, our traditional butter pie, if you would. I'm not even going to cut these open. I'm going to do this all in the bap. I'm not going to say barm because, well, to be honest, maybe I should say barm because is that clickbait? Is that what I need? How do I become more popular, guys? Do I sort of antagonize people by saying things that I know aren't true? I don't get any comments on my videos. Why don't you guys comment? Tell me you love me. Tell me you hate me. Toast off this other one and then we'll start building, because I don't want the wet peas to make this thing too wet. Maybe I should just start calling them pea wet and barm. Hi, I'm a southerner and this is a barm. These are pea wet. I went to the north and I tried pea wet. Okay, so we got our buns. These are our bottoms. And I think, did we put peas on the bottom? Here are our traditional pea wets. Our wet peas. Right, pie number one. This is traditional butter. In it goes there. This is cheese. In it goes there. Lids on. Come on. Are you having this, guys? Sorry, guys. The southerner can cook northern food. Look at that. That is absolute. That looks triumphant. Oh, look. And you can see just the little speckles of cheese going through there. That looks absolutely sensational. Right, well, let's try the traditional first. I might even need to cut it again. Let's leave that there. Is there enough peas so far? We can always put more peas on, can't we? Pastry's cooked beautiful. Lovely barm. It's absolutely triumphant. Maybe it does need peas on the top. You've still got that sort of chip bap essence, like the potatoiness of it. It's so soft. Like when you're making it, you're thinking there should be a sauce or something like that, but just the butter and the onions. It's an absolute triumph. Did it need cheese? Currently, I would say it probably doesn't, but let's give the cheesy one a go and see if it does. And I'm going to be a little bit of a southern softie, and I'm going to cut this into quarters. It certainly doesn't take anything away from it, that's for sure. That's absolutely delicious. You know what this needs? A cup of tea. It was McCartney that said, Admiral Halsey notified me. He had to have a berth or he couldn't go to sea. I had another look and I had a cup of tea and a butter pie. A butter pie? Butter wouldn't melt, so I put it in a pie. Sorry, I went a bit Rick Stein on you there. Bon appetit.